What movements do you believe, if they exist, all people should include in their weekly routine, someplace, when thinking about how to develop, perhaps maintain, but for most people it's going to be the goal of still achieving some strength.
Okay.
Strength increase, excuse me.
I think there has to be a very low quantity of exercises, just very few exercises you want to focus on. And I'm going to give you some options to choose from. So what we try to do at Strong First in my company, my School of Strength, is we try to provide people with various simple, very low-tech, high-concept ways of reaching their needs. Because for one reason or another, for this individual, the barbell is the preferred tool. For another, it's the kettlebell or bodyweight or something else. So I'm not going to say that if you don't do kettlebell swings or barbell squats, you'll never amount to anything. That's just not true. But you can pick some events. So you definitely ought to do something for a posterior chain. You absolutely do. If we are looking at the barbell, I would start out with the narrow sumo deadlift.
So this is narrow grip, but
not narrow grip, pardon me, but your stance is just wide enough to let your arms through. Your arms stay parallel to each other. And so you just find a very comfortable stance for yourself. So Professor McGill has been in your podcast. He explained to you about the different hip architecture and so on. So you have to find whatever works for you. And when people talk about functional strength training, and then they start standing on a ball and juggle oranges, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because that doesn't look like my life, or yours probably, right? But if you have to get a heavy bag of groceries or something, you got to deadlift. And the narrow sumo deadlift, so if you look at powerlifters, classic example would be Ed Cohn. That's a narrow stance sumo. I'm not talking about wide sumo, that's a very sport specific event. And you practice that first, you learn how to hip hinge. It's extremely important to learn how to hip hinge. Again, Stuart stressed that how important it is for your back health and for your longevity. So you learn to do that. Then whether you decide to pursue deadlift or not, if you decide not to pursue high numbers in the deadlift, maybe it's not appropriate for you, or maybe you like in the coaching, fantastic exercise for everybody is a Zercher squat. So in the Zercher squat, you hold the bar like this in the crooks of your elbows. So it's resting right here. It's possible to pick it up off the ground, but it's an advanced skill. Better just to walk it off the rack. The advantage of the Zercher squat over, let's say, the back squat or the front squat is even if you have messed up shoulders, wrists, elbows, you still can do that. Coaching the Zercher squat is very easy, very simple. And you have tremendous reflexive stabilization of your midsection. It's just very, very powerful. So you acquire that skill of getting tight. So getting high numbers on that exercise in the Zercher, so let's say an athlete could shoot for double body weight, that's a really good goal.
And the bar, for those listening, not watching,
right here,
is cradled in the crooks of the elbows.
Correct.
In front of the body. Are the arms crossed?
You can hold them like this, you can hold them like this, or different ways of holding them. You definitely would want to get proper coaching. You don't want to, you don't want to bruise yourself. You want to be comfortable. You want to do it right. But doesn't take a lot of skill to do that. You find some pressing exercise. And again, if we're sticking with the example of the barbell, the bench press has gotten bad reputation, thanks to the gym bros. And all gym bros do is the bench pretty much. Well, these days they also check out their phones, I guess.
Every set, between every set. The 11th rep, I joke. People checking their phones.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. But if you look at athletes, athletes who also do some lower body work, some posterior chain work, and something for the midsection, and again, the Zercher squat could address that, they are making a great use of the bench press. So it's a very simple exercise. Well, not very simple, it's a relatively simple exercise. And unlike other pressing exercises, it allows you to make strength gains with a very low volume of training. So you can do several sets of 5 once a week in the bench press and keep getting stronger. Good luck doing that in the overhead press or in the one-arm push-up or something like that. So those are just a couple examples. There are many other examples. You can do snatch grip deadlifts. You can, list is very, very long. We can address the same thing in the same way with kettlebells. You can look at the bodyweight exercises, but you need to find several exercises that have a reputation for building strength that reaches beyond the ability to do this exercise. Mm-hmm. If you just do curls, you're gonna get better at curls, but not at much else. So Canadian scientists back in the 80s did Dubussel and his team made some interesting discoveries. And again, they just found that doing something like extension is not going to carry over to the squat. It's just not. The coordination is so radically different. So you find several exercises that you enjoy, that don't hurt you, that you have the equipment available, that you got the proper coaching for, and you pretty much stick with them. And there's absolutely no reason for you to change these exercises. It's possible to change them on the margins, from a wide grip bench press to narrow grip bench press, squats with a pause, and so on and so forth. But you don't really have to do a great variety of things. Variety, it's a good topic. We can discuss this later. But like looking at the example of weightlifting, as much as we can find many reasons why variety could be beneficial, improved neuroplasticity, reduced risk of repeated strain injury, and so on. But there's always the statistics in weightlifting. There's no correlation between the number of exercises and the platform results. And for people outside the sports, it's going to be the same. So find this limited battery of exercises that you can do well, you can do pain-free, and just enjoy them for years.